Hey everybody, before we get into the video itself, I wanted to thank you all for the ongoing support. If you want to help keep this channel going and support me, you can do so by sponsoring me on Patreon, or you can also get in touch to order an art commission. Details on how to do this can be found in the description below. I also sell artwork on my Etsy store and also sell exclusive t-shirts on TeePublic. Links to all of these can be found in the description below. Without any more delay, here's the video. Toy Story 4 is a movie that, not many people wanted. It had a lot fighting against it already. We waited 11 years for Toy Story 3, which built up a lot of nostalgic anticipation. Though we also waited 9 years for this movie, it didn't have the same anticipation because, well, what more needs to be said? As a franchise, Toy Story is very much an ensemble story. The first movie was a buddy comedy, the second was a search and rescue story, and the third was a prison break story. Toy Story 4 was a road trip movie, and to be honest, I did wonder if we really needed this movie. But then I thought perhaps it's not about what we as an audience needs, but what Woody as a character needs. Toy Story 4 focuses much more intimately on Woody, which does mean that supporting characters get less screen time. That's not to say they didn't get a chance to shine, of course. This movie seemed to be Woody's midlife crisis. He's a character that has represented a boss, a father figure, and a best friend. Now in this final installment, he's all three rolled into one, and perhaps also a love interest. And, of course, there are plenty of parallels showing that Woody became to represent the father figure in these movies, and what fathers go through when letting their children go when they grow up. In all the other movies, Woody has always been focused on what Andy wants or what Bonnie wants. But in this movie, Woody doesn't really fit in anymore and needs to focus on what he wants for a change. This is quite new territory for him, and though there was a danger of this movie becoming a Disney Princess I Want More adventure, that tired cliche was destroyed immediately by the introduction of Forky, a toy that Bonnie made on her first day in elementary school, a toy that came to life in front of Woody's eyes. This would be where I had somewhat of an unfair expectation on this movie. What I wanted to see happen was for the movie to hint at what makes the toys come to life. Perhaps the life force comes literally from the imagination of the children that play with them, which could be the motivation behind why the toys need to be played with. But then if that was the fact, the love that the toys have for the children may become sullied and inauthentic. Bonnie brings Forky to life when she imagines him talking. Forky, though, being made from a spork and trash, refuses to accept that he's a toy and throws himself away. Knowing how much Forky means to Bonnie, Woody chases after him but discovers an old friend along the way. Bo Peep is a character that started out as simply a porcelain ornament on a lamp. In this universe, I guess it's not just toys that come to life, but also gnomes and ornaments as well. So perhaps the whole expectation of this movie explaining how and why these objects come to life was a little unfair. This is a kids movie after all. Without going into spoiler territory, this movie delivered on pulling on heartstrings. Literally. In the case of Gabby, but also having the underlining tones of the Uncanny Valley, as presented in part by Gabby, but also by the ventriloquist dummies who live in the Second Chance Antique Store. A very apt name, considering this movie is full of second chances. And perhaps Toy Story 4 itself is a second chance for this franchise. Toy Story is a franchise that nicely bookends their movies with mirroring staging and posing, using symbols and cinematography in a very subtle way. But it's also a franchise that gives a lot of respect to children and how they treat their toys. It's also not afraid to show that dreams don't always come true, and if they do, it's not always the way you expect them to. I personally feel that though we perhaps didn't need this movie, nor did we get the answers we were hoping for, I think this was a movie that wanted to give the franchise and the characters in it a second chance. And I think that this was something worthwhile. I'm Mad Munchkin. Stay creative.